In this video, we're gonna get into the full story of the Peter Parker from Earth-65. If you've seen the Spider-Verse movies, you know things ended pretty tragically with Gwen accidentally killing him, but there's a lot that happened before that moment. Even though we only got a little glimpse of his backstory on screen, we can still piece together all the details to get a much better picture of what his life was actually like. Honestly, his life started out pretty much exactly like the Peter Parker we're all used to. He was being raised by his Uncle Ben and Aunt May because his parents weren't in the picture. Even though he was incredibly smart, things were still really rough for him. Being the smartest in the room usually just meant he was the #1 target for bullies at school. He was basically a loner and didn't have anyone to hang out with until he met Gwen. Since George Stacy was friends with Peter's aunt and uncle, the two of them ended up crossing paths and hitting it off. Gwen became his only real friend, and she actually started stepping in to defend him when people picked on him. Their families were so close that they were constantly together, so their bond just kept getting stronger. When they both ended up going to Vision's Academy, the bullying didn't let up. In this version of the story, Ned was actually the one who gave Peter a hard time. Peter had that classic nerdy look and interests that made him an easy target for everyone. While all of this was happening, Gwen was starting to find her own lane. She befriended the girls in the Mary Janes and joined their band, but Peter was still stuck in that same spot where he couldn't make any friends besides her. It really started to mess with him because he felt completely useless every time Gwen had to stand up for him. He just wanted to be able to protect himself, but the bullying just kept going and never seemed to stop. Once Peter found out there was a new vigilante in town called Spider-Woman, he became totally obsessed with her. He started following her around and taking pictures whenever he could. He'd show the photos to Gwen all the time and talk about how much he looked up to this superhero. He even used to tell her that he bet Spider-Woman was actually really pretty.
Hey, I think you look great. I don't know.
But since Gwen didn't have those kinds of romantic feelings for him, she didn't have any reaction at all when he was praising her alter ego. If she had feelings for him, she probably would have looked a little happy or proud to hear him say those things, but instead, she just listened to him gush about her without feeling any type of way about it. Meanwhile, Gwen's dad made it very clear he didn't like this new vigilante at all. He had a pretty obvious disdain for her, though he did have a tiny bit of respect deep down because she actually saved his life once. But while the city was focused on Spider-Woman, Peter was still dealing with a nightmare at school. Ned never stopped messing with him. It eventually got to a point where Peter felt like he couldn't take it anymore. He was tired of feeling like a weakling and a loser every single time Gwen had to jump in and save him. Even though Gwen was just being a good friend and had the best intentions, her protection actually made Peter feel worse about himself. He felt like he wasn't a real man because he couldn't stand up for himself. That's really where everything started to go south. Because he looked up to Spider-Woman so much, he decided he wanted to be just like her. He used his intelligence to try and create a formula that would give him superpowers so he could finally fight back against his bully. He thought he was fixing his life, but the experiment went horribly wrong. Instead of getting cool powers like Gwen, the formula turned him into a mindless, dangerous lizard. The big homecoming dance was the night everything finally boiled over. He and Gwen had actually made plans to go together as friends, but when the night of the prom rolled around, Peter was nowhere to be found. He didn't show up because he had already gone through with his plan and drank that formula he'd been working on. He was just so fed up with being the school's punching bag and was desperate to feel special for once in his life. When he finally showed up, he wasn't there to dance. He transformed into the lizard and went straight for his bully, Ned. Spider-Woman ended up swinging in to stop the monster, having no idea that she was actually fighting her best friend. The fight was intense, and in the heat of the moment, Gwen hit him way harder than she intended. She accidentally killed him right there. As the life left his body, the transformation started to fade away, and the lizard turned back into Peter. Gwen was absolutely devastated. Seeing Peter's face there on the floor, she realized she had just killed her best friend. It turns out Peter actually knew Gwen was Spider-Woman the entire time, but he never said a word about it until those final seconds when he was dying. It was a total gut punch. Even as he was slipping away, he told her that he just wanted to be special, exactly like she was.
I just wanted to be special. Like you. Gwen.
Gwen? Who's Gwen?
The whole thing was just a massive tragedy. Peter was a victim of constant bullying, but his own deep insecurities are what really pushed him over the edge. He felt like the only way he could ever have value or be special was if he had superpowers, and that mindset is ultimately what cost him his life. This moment changed Gwen forever. She completely shut down and closed herself off from everyone, carrying around a massive amount of guilt. To make things even worse, her own father was leading the hunt to arrest Spider-Woman, believing she was just a cold-blooded killer who murdered Peter. Gwen stayed in that dark place, haunted by what happened, and it wasn't until she met Miles much later that everything changed. He was the only one who managed to get through her emotional walls.